Hi, it's Nick from HiFi Collective here. We are going to be talking about component selection when you are upgrading your piece of HiFi. So we've done kind of the process of upgrading a kind of modern day kit. Pretty straightforward. We have the circuit diagram. We're going to now tackle how to upgrade a vintage piece of HiFi. So this is a Rogers Cadet. Brilliant amp from, God, when was it? 650s? I'll have to look it up. Lots of knobs and whistles. So let's just have a look inside and see what we can do. So we've taken off the lid. As you can see, she's a bit dusty. We're going to give her a clean now. You possibly could find a circuit diagram online. There are some for this actually, though I've only found the Mark II version. But when it comes to wholly following a circuit diagram, sometimes they change it and they have another model that's different from the original circuit. So you should always check your values before you swap anything. A lot of these actually have the values written on. But yeah, as you can see, it's pretty dusty, so we're going to give it a clean. Right, so we've given top a bit of a clean. So all the valves along here, as far as I can see, I mean I need to check the circuit, but it's an ECL86, which I'm pretty sure is a triode pentode. So you've got 4 here, so I reckon it's 2 pentode in push-pull, and then you've got 4 kind of voltage amplifier kind of tubes. This is probably for the phono stage and the preamp section of the circuit. Lots of filter stuff going on here. I probably wouldn't touch any of that. It's got some polystyrenes, all look good nick. The pots again look okay. They might need a bit of a spray. They're noisy, but I kind of keep those still. So let me just show you the complexities of the internal. I mean, it's beautifully made. All these circuitry. One thing I did notice was the valves are quite loose inside there. So one thing you have to be wary of is contact between the valve pins and the actual valve bases. Case in point, you know, they're really wobbly like a nut tooth. You can just pull them out quite easily. So you might need to just make them a bit tighter. The way to do that is, you can see all those there, you just get like a nail and then you just give it a little push. So you're basically squeezing in the 2 halves of the actual clasp to make it a bit tighter. So now we've given the amp a good clean, we can just investigate, have a look at all the components. First thing I look for is things that really do need changing. Electrolytic caps would be the first thing, because they have a tendency to dry out. So on this side first, there's a 16+16 here, 350 volt. That will be a power supply cap and an electrolytic. The problem with kind of the vintage stuff, the electrolytics do have a tendency to dry out. So I would be keen to swap those. Now they're going to be part of the power supply circuit. Generally you can tell because the voltage is quite high here, they're 350. Obviously they go up to 500, some of the ones. And the other one is, that's 450, the other one. So the thing about these old electrolytic caps is the values are a bit weird, as in non-standard. So this is a 24+24, 450 volt. 24 is not a standard value in capacitance for these ones. So I'd shove in there a 22 plus a 22, 450 volt if I can find a can like that, but I know they can get 500. And they're probably a bit bigger than these, but I think you'd be able to fit them. Just push these resistors down a bit out of the way to get them in. And this one here is a 16+16, 350 volt. So definitely would change those because the fear of them drying out. These blue ones are electrolytics. So you can see that this one really does need replacing. You can see some of the the residue coming out of it. See this stuff here? So that's screwed. Well, that needs replacing. So I'd systematically go through all of these blues. One there, and one there. This is also an electrolytic. I'd swap that around as well. So that's a 47 UF 25 volt. And then to show the others, here, you've got a handful of electrolytics here. There. And you can see kind of a yellow situ. So these I would replace absolutely, probably the first thing I'd do. And I would be worried about turning her on because they look a bit ropey. I mean, this amp must be about 50 years old, probably more. Within here, I'm pretty confident these are signal caps because of the value of them and the proximity to the valve as well. So they're going to be feeding off the anode. A lot of these are 0.1 UF. So they, in a valve circuitry, anything that's about 0.1, 0.2, you know, but maybe a bit less, there's going to be a signal going through there. That's how valve circuitry works. Basically removing all the DC from the signal, then passing on to the next stage where DC is put on the anode, amplified, signal comes out with DC on it, goes through a cap, signal's removed, and it goes on again and again. Well, depends how many stages there are. So, yeah, would go through all those ones there, change them. There was 0.1, 0.1, 0.1, 0.1, there's 0.022 as well, there. So I'd change all those, and then if you look underneath, there's a fair few there as well. And you can see on this side that it is all linked to the valve. So, yeah, I mean, there's symmetry to this as well because it's 2-channel. The layout is very similar. You can see same components. You could, if you wanted to, sketch out the circuit. These are ECL86s. You can pick up from valve data what pins are what, so you can actually sketch out the circuit. That's pretty straightforward to do, and it gives you a better understanding of how it all works. Yeah, so I'd change those, all these here as well, for sure. Get them changed, and then I'd be confident about turning her on and seeing how she goes. The thing about doing a test like this, and if you don't have the circuit, it's a bit of plug some speakers in and see if it works kind of thing. Oh, also notice there's some electrolytics here as well. So I'd swap those too. I missed those. Okay, so it's gone up to about 80 quid on all the electrolytics. This one is 100 UF 275 volts. That's easy enough. That's just one can. I can't see the other one. Can I? No, they need changing for sure. Cool. Yeah, so overall, probably about 350 quid. There's a lot of components in this. So that's what I'd go for. So once you've done the changing of all the electrolytics, switch her on, see if she's working. Great if she is. If she's not, you might need to get a repairman involved, or you can fix it if you know what you're doing. Circuit-wise, I would be changing all the signal caps. You know, the ones I mentioned earlier. Now, I know for sure that these two on the output stage, these two on the output stage, you're going to have a phono stage, probably this one, and then this will be like for the line level phase splitter to feed those. So if you are going to be using the Cadet and using its phono stage, then definitely worth changing the components linked here first. The way it works is, imagine you've got a line like this line. Signal goes in here, and then you've got a speaker here. So a component sat here is going to have more influence over the overall sound than the component sitting here on the output. Purely because it's being amplified much more than say here. Obviously, that's how it works with amplifiers. So I would put more money into these guys here than the ones on the inside here. Forget my drift. And then always, always, always a good idea to mix up the types of caps you're going to use. So, you know, don't have the same type everywhere. But obviously it's stereo. You need to have the same cut components on the output stage. For example, you can't have like one channel using, I don't know, an MKP from Mundorf, and another one using a Solens, because it will just sound different. You have to marry and see the symmetry to it all. So, for example, this, symmetrical to this. So this circuitry here is the same as this circuitry here. So this component, yeah, would have to be the same as this component. Just makes sense. And then same with these. 1, 2, 3, 4, all the same component there, because I know that that's signal stuff coming off, because there's 2 of them. I hope it helps, and enjoy. Just before I sign off, I want to say a big thank you for watching our videos. Like and subscribe, and follow us on all the social network platforms. See you later.